On Friday, the Christo-fascist Supreme Court undid 50 years of judicial precedent on reproductive rights and freedom after it decided to strike down Roe v. Wade, as well as Casey v. Planned Parenthood. So now the 6-3 decision marks the end of the guarantee of a safe legal abortion in the United States. So far, 13 states have already passed so-called trigger laws. Another 13 states are looking to restrict abortion access. So now you have basically half the country making abortion illegal. And again, this is despite the fact that the majority of this country did not want this. 64%, according to a recent, this was a PBS NewsHour NPR Marist poll, said they do not want to see Roe overturned. Unfortunately, that is exactly what we're seeing here. Before I toss to you, Ray, let me just say this is according to Samuel Alito in his majority opinion. We'll get to Thomas later. Saying the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Roe and Casey are overruled, and their authority to regulate abortion is returned to the people and their elected representatives. Now, if it was really up to the people, Ray, then wouldn't Roe still be the law of the land?
That would follow logically, but also it's just really rich that they're like, oh, it's returning to the people in the states. They get to make their decisions. But like they just did a ruling on a gun control law where they said that the states don't have the power to do these things. So that idea is bogus. Also, people who are on the states' right side of the argument historically didn't turn out the best for them. They have not been looked at back upon favorably in history. I'm sure this time will be different, but I mean, it's absurd. Like, and I've gone, I'm in law school now, and there's a lot of people, particularly like, I think there's even like a liberal idea that the Supreme Court justices write decisions based on law, and they are, it's not just even because this is an overturning precedent, but they're rooted in the law and they have strong ideological justifications or strong legal justifications for their argument. That's not true.
No.
Scalia is often referred to as one of the best legal minds of American history. This man was ridiculous. His opinions were absurd. There's in his dissent on a gay rights case, he said that what's next? Are we going to let people marry their dogs? Like, what? That is your hero. That's your legal mind. Like, he's famous for making a legislative interpretation rule called the dinner party rule, which is, would a person, if you said this word to them at a dinner party, know what it means? Would they interpret it this way? Like, that's the type of shit he was doing. And Alito is his little same. So it's just absurd. It's really gross, and I mean, it's in no way, shape, or form giving power to the people. It's taking away your rights.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, they want to claim that we're just following what the Constitution says, and the Constitution has no explicit mention of the right to an abortion. Oh, so if it's just not plainly spelled out, you don't believe it exists? You don't believe that there's any interpretation of rights under other amendments, that it has to be specifically put in there? That's bizarre. But it goes back to this weirdo, and maybe you can expand on this a little bit more, this weirdo idea that, the Constitution is not a living document, that the Constitution can't be changed at all, can't be reinterpreted. It has to be 100% original in its meaning. Back in the day, people were slaves. Women didn't have the right to vote, and I don't think people showered. Are we really going to listen to people who didn't know how to shower?
Yeah, right. These are people who one Doritos Locos taco would kill them. They would shit their pants if they saw an iPhone, and we are basing our entire judicial system and system of governance off of them. Like, I'm not saying that like democracy is a bad thing, or there aren't good tenets of rights in our Constitution. I firmly think that a lot of our Constitution is solid, particularly, the First Amendment. A lot of the Bill of Rights, I think, is something that we would want to keep, right? But there's no reason that, there are reasons, but there's no really justifiable reason that we need to interpret the document in the way that it would have been interpreted by people who were slave-owning upper class white men. And there's no reason that we shouldn't be able to change it. It was always intended to be changed. It was always intended, to be amended and to have constitutional conferences throughout the years where they would rewrite the Constitution. Other countries, rewrite their constitutions all the time. And, that people think that, if we do that, our whole system will collapse. But is the system working for you right now?
It really isn't.
No, would the system collapsing be such a bad thing if we rebuild something stronger that actually works for the people? I don't think so. I work in the law. I see how the justice system fucks people over every single day. I see how ramifications of these decisions are harming people's lives in very personal ways every day. And the idea that we need to cling to this old document to continue to fuck ourselves with it's just nonsense.
And again, one of the most brilliant things that's actually in it is the fact that they put in a way for us to change things, for us to amend things so that we can actually progress the country long after they were dead. So that's one thing the framers actually were like, really smart about. Like, this thing's going to need to change. Society's going to progress in different ways. So let's give you the tools to be able to do it. Unfortunately, what we have is an activist Supreme Court that was picked by, I believe it's not the Heritage Foundation.
The Federalist Society.
The Federalist Society. Thank you.
Yeah.
Those are the ones. They were handpicked by the Federalist Society to completely undo all the years of social progress. And by the way, economic progress, because I don't know if this gets talked about enough, but when it comes to women's reproductive rights and trans people's reproductive rights, et cetera, anybody with a uterus, a womb that is affected by this, and it's not just women, it is trans men, it is non-binary people, and I think it's important to include them in the conversation because it affects them just as much. Their economic success is also tied into the fact that they are able to control their bodies. And if they're not able to control their bodies, that really limits career potential, money-making potential, and potential to be out on their own and do their own thing and not have to be dependent on a male income. And so that's the other hugely negative effect of this, is that you're going to lock people into marriages, relationships, etc., that can be toxic, that can be, or just to lock them into places where they don't want to be with a child, or have to subject those families now to crippling, destructive poverty. And of course, the other thing too that's related to that is this is not going to affect rich people. It's not going to affect the wealthy white elites that are at the top of society that will be able to fly somewhere else. They'll fly to California, they'll fly to New York, they'll fly to the other states that are still going to allow reproductive freedom, or out of the country if they try to do a nationwide ban. And so this is really going to have an impact. It's going to kill or put poor people in even greater poverty. And so that's the ultimate negative ramifications for this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the Democrats have had really terrible messaging when it comes to abortion. I think that abortion is, it's not something that you should be ashamed of. And it's not a dirty word. And I think we need to destigmatize it. So I'm pretty open about the fact that I've had an abortion when I was an undergrad and I was in an abusive relationship. And if I was forced to have that child, it would have ruined my life forever. I would have been stuck in a relation. I always say it saved my life. I would probably be dead by now because that person was violent and not only threatened to, but attempted to kill me. And getting out of that relationship saved my life. And I was only able to do that because I was not tied to them with, a child that neither of us wanted. So and the Democrats like to say what's safe, legal, and
safe,
rare.
legal, and rare.
And they're falling right into the conservative trap that it's a bad thing. Abortion is dirty. Conservatives always, or Democrats always say, it's the hardest decision a woman has to make. It wasn't for me. I found out. I made my appointment with Planned Parenthood immediately. I didn't think twice about it. I knew that's what I was doing. And for a lot of women and a lot of people who get pregnant, it's not the hardest decision they have to make. It was an easy decision. And I think framing it like that is shaming them, telling them that there's something wrong with what they did and that it should have been an internal struggle to make that decision. And the Democrats have just fallen into this trap, this rhetorical trap, and they've played into the conservatives' hand. And now they are still scared to say abortion. It's always reproductive rights. It's always women's health care. Say abortion. It's just, you're getting a medical treatment. It should not be stigmatized. Avoiding the word, pretending it's a dirty thing, only stigmatizes it further. And that played a huge part in how we got here, falling into the conservatives' trap over and over again, like you're stepping on a rake and it's just hitting you in the face repeatedly.
Right, over and over again.
Stepping on it.
Yeah, exactly. I think you bring up an excellent point there. Yeah, we should own it. We should own it. And I know, like, I understand, like, Democrats are they're incredibly scared and they're super feckless. And again, they're a disaster when it comes to messaging on anything, pretty much. Even the issues they, pretend to care about the most, or say that, oh no, we're here on you, we're with you 100%, except for the fact that we're really not, because we're not very strong in the messaging, because golly gee, we really want to get conservative voters from the suburbs.
Yeah. People who are going to vote for you or people who are never going to vote for you anyway. Like this you have a core base of people who really supports abortion rights. Why are you placating people who are less likely to vote for you anyway? Most Americans support Roe. Stop pandering to like the far right, or like the myth of the moderate conservative who you think is going to swing to you. Stop. Just play to your base. Who supports abortion? That's how you win. Fire up your base. The conservatives are phenomenal at firing up their base. Every crisis that they have invented fires up their base. CRT, this groomer discourse, all of it. The anti-vaccine things and all of that, like masking. It's nonsense. But they're not afraid to do that, and they're not appealing to a broad coalition of people. They're appealing to their base because those are the people they need to get to the polls. The Democrats are sitting on their hands and motivating no one.